The doctor told me I had 3 broken ribs and a ruptured spleen. I spent 7 hazy days in the ICU, drifting in and out of consciousness. When I finally woke up, the room was a sterile vacuum. No flowers, no fruit baskets, not even a shadow of a person. The nurse mentioned it offhandedly while changing my IV. Your mother came by to sign the surgical consent. She said she had a case she couldn't walk away from. I felt a ghost of a smirk pull at my cracked lips. I didn't say a word. She was a powerhouse litigator, a shark in a designer suit. She'd spent my entire childhood choosing billable hours over her only daughter. I was used to it. It wasn't until the 9th day that my father arrived from the neighboring county. His fingers were gaunt and trembling as he gripped my hand. His Adam's apple bobbed for a long time before he managed to force the words out. Casey, there's something about the case your mother took. He took a jagged breath, his voice thin. It's the Prescott family. Courtney Prescott, the girl who had looked me in the eye before kicking me down 3 flights of stairs. I stared up at the clear fluid dripping through the IV line. I felt the blood in my veins turn to ice. My father's hand wouldn't stop shaking. He gripped me so hard his knuckles turned white, tighter than I was holding on to consciousness. Dad, I whispered. Which Courtney Prescott? Tell me there's another one. I was still hunting for a loophole. One last scrap of hope. It's her, Casey. He kept his head down, his voice muffled, like the words were being crushed out of his chest. The daughter of the developer, Arthur Prescott, the girl from your school. Her father approached your mother's firm. Your mother, she personally requested the file. The room went silent for an eternity. The heart monitor was the only thing speaking, a steady beep, beep, beep that sounded like a countdown. I stared at the fluorescent light on the ceiling, so white it burned. One thought looped through my mind, over and over. She knows. She knows who did this to me. Dad, does she know I'm in the hospital? She knows. Does she know Courtney did it? She knows. And she took the case anyway? My father didn't answer, but silence is its own kind of confession. I closed my eyes. Suddenly those 3 broken ribs flared in unison. It wasn't the physical wound. It was something deeper, a jagged break in the center of my being. My father reached into a plastic bag and pulled out a thermal container. He unscrewed the lid. Homemade chicken soup. Steam billowed out. He was a clumsy man, a man of rough edges and ink-stained fingers. The carrots were chopped into uneven chunks. The broth wasn't strained properly, and a few stray bits of fat floated on the surface. But it was hot. Dad, how did you get here? How long was the bus ride? Not long. 2 hours. He lied. I could see the mud caked on his boots and the damp hem of his jeans. It was pouring outside and he hadn't even brought an umbrella. Why are you only getting here now? His eyes turned bloodshot in an instant. Your mother told me not to come. She said she was handling it. She told me to stay out of the way. He choked on a sob. I called her for 7 days straight. She didn't pick up once. It wasn't until your homeroom teacher, Mr. Henderson, tracked me down on social media that I found out you were in the ICU. 7 days. I was fighting for my life for 7 days. My mother stayed for 8 minutes to sign a paper and left. My father called for 7 days, and she ghosted him. Dad, don't cry. I set the soup on the nightstand. I want to see the damage. He hesitated, then pulled back the thin hospital blanket. My left side was a topographical map of gauze and surgical tape. A long, angry incision ran across my abdomen, stitched together and crusting into a dark crimson scab. My right arm was a mosaic of deep purple bruises, boot prints. When I hit the stairs, my head had slammed against the edge of the concrete step. The nurse told me that 2 centimeters to the left, and I would have been brain dead. What's the bill up to? I asked. He looked away. Don't worry about that. How much, Dad? 19,000 so far. The follow-up surgeries and rehab, they're estimating another 15. Who's paying? Your mother. She wired 20,000 to the hospital's billing department. I let out a hollow laugh. $20,000. My mother made more than that on a single retainer. She paid the bill so she thinks she's square. That's her logic, isn't it? He stayed silent, but I knew the answer. In my mother's world, money was the universal solvent. It dissolved guilt, it dissolved responsibility, it dissolved truth. But money couldn't knit my ribs back together. Money couldn't catch me before I hit the floor. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. A nurse pushed the door open, followed by a doctor in a white coat. Is the family of Casey Sullivan here? We need a signature for tomorrow's scans. My father stood up, but before he could speak, the sharp, rhythmic click-clack of high heels rang out from the corridor. Steady, urgent, perfectly timed. I knew that sound. It was the soundtrack of my childhood. My mother had arrived. Margot Sullivan swept into the room, a boutique paper bag from a high-end private pharmacy dangling from her wrist. When